Hace así. Hagan así. En 3, 2,
Okay.
1.
I hit the mic.
Welcome back to Flippin' Tables, guys. We're excited to have you guys back. Today, we're coming out of a different location. As you guys can see, we want to give a shout out to Epic Branding for coming through and giving us this nice little setup. It's a little different.
It's nice.
But we're feeling it. What are you feeling?
I feel legit right now. I feel mama, I made it.
Mama, I made it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It feels nice.
I feel good, man. It feels good, man. We appreciate, our friends hooking us up with the spot and letting us use some of their equipment to shoot this. As you know, this is something special for us that God put in our hearts, obviously, to share the message and to share the word and to be able to reach anyone who listens, right? And everyone who tunes in. So we appreciate you guys tuning in again this week. And we want to continue talking about discipline. Today, we want to talk about self-discipline, which is very, very important in life, not just your spiritual life.
Of course. And what is self-discipline, right? What's when you talk about self-discipline, what's the one thing that stands out to you?
Yeah.
Or what comes to mind? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
So every time I think about self-discipline, I always think about, you see the shirt?
Yeah. Mamba.
The Mamba mentality, right? Having that, not just, I guess, well, every time I think about that, I think about killer instinct.
Yeah.
But self-discipline in the sense of like having self-control and overcoming certain temptations and things like that, right? I'll give you a quick insight or little story. I started meal prepping, right? Because I was like, man, I'm not losing weight and I'm spending so much money on food. I'm eating Chipotle, I'm eating Chick-fil-A, I'm getting Nando's, and I'm dropping so much money every week on food. So I reached out to a friend and her mom, and she was like, yeah, I'll cook for you. So I started, she's pretty much grocery shopping and she's meal prepping. Yeah. But and she cooks good.
That helps.
But that does not mean that I don't pass by a Nando's and be like, I kind of want some chicken today.
To add to it.
Yeah, or I want some chips or I want some cookies because I like sweets, especially at night or after lunch, bro, having that coffee with the pastry. But I was like, yo, you gotta be self-disciplined now because I'm like, I have to chill,
Yeah.
Like I'm still fairly young. I'm 30, but I have to watch myself. I have to be disciplined with what I eat and what I consume to be healthier. So with that being said, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden, just because, somebody's cooking for me and I have good food, doesn't mean that I still don't want McDonald's fries or I still don't want some cheesecake or, that doesn't go away, but it's just you learn to control your urges. You learn to be like, I'm not even going to, well, what I do is I just say, I'm not even going to pay attention to that Krispy Kreme light that's on right now and the glazed donuts are coming out fresh. I'm not even paying attention to that. I'm not even going to drive that way. You know what I mean? I'm going to go a different way because I don't even want to avoid that temptation, You
would just say like the biggest thing that comes to mind is always about the physical discipline because we're talking about a mindset, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's to get physical results. Sometimes you're looking for emotional results. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're looking for, even when it comes to like a sense of being goal oriented, right? Mm. Like I know you're touching on the physical aspect of being healthy, taking care of yourself, eating habits, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that when I talk about self-discipline, because obviously eating healthy is not my forte, right? But one thing that I do take pride a lot and something that I work with a lot is being disciplined in the sense of trying to manage my money.
Yeah.
In the sense of managing my time. And I share this with like a lot of people at work, right? Because I mentor a lot of folks there and I'm coaching a lot of people. But it's not the same thing for you to just know where your money is going and knowing how to spend it as it is for you to know where your time is going and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like I can go to my phone right now and tell you what I ate September 1st for breakfast of 2 years ago.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Not because I was just me paso de enfermo, like a little extra on it. But the truth of the matter is, it's not so much about what I ate because again, don't matter that much, right? But it's about knowing how much time I spent eating breakfast.
Right. Okay.
Because one morning I might get up, make breakfast for myself really quick and run out the door. Another day, maybe my wife is home. Maybe I you know what? I'm going to spend an hour with my wife, having breakfast, drinking coffee, chilling. But if I'm not disciplined, that 1 hour that I aim for might turn to 2.5 hours. Right. And then that might mess with my whole productivity of my day. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm managing other people that are depending on my time, I don't have the freedom to do something. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not saying that I won't take the chance or that I won't make changes like that. Obviously, I'm going to prioritize my marriage from day one, right? But the difference is that I'll keep track of it. Why? Because of a month from now, I'm coming up short on my commissions and I'm coming up short on and I'm not making ends meet where I think I was. I can go back and I can look at my time and be like, oh, snap. I spent so much time just watching football this month. And it wasn't just watching football. Like I wasn't even watching my Niners. I was watching other games with other friends and I spent all my time doing that where I should have been putting in work. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a matter of being self-disciplined in the sense that if I'm doing it, it's not because someone's going to go in and be like, oh, look at where your time is going. You know how like people, whenever they want to judge you on what you do, they're like, let me show me your phone. Let me see how much time percentage you use on your time on this, how much screen time. It's not even about that. It's about self-accountability. Like no one's going to, if I'm my own boss, no one's going to tell me nothing. Now I'm working at a company right now, but I only got the owner above me, right? And he's not going to come like, tell me what you did every 15 minutes. He's not going to care because he just wants to see the results. The results, yeah. He's going to be result-oriented. But if I care about results like that, then I need to make sure that I know where my time is going. If I'm spending way too much time on one person, or even if it's not one of the employees, right? But maybe if it's a client. One thing that I learned a long time in sales is like, you shouldn't spend 80% of your time on someone who's bringing 20% of your business. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, and I see that and I notice a pattern on certain clients, well, the smart thing to do is to avoid that type of stuff, you know, or to know how to set boundaries. But you can't know where your time is. Mater said it best on that. What was that? Like Cars, right? Where he's like, I don't need to know where I'm going. I just need to know where I've been. If I know what I've been doing with my time, I know what I need to do to change it. Right. And then I can plan and I can set goals and I can start planning things ahead of time, not just looking back, but now I'm looking forward and I'm making those changes. So when I talk about self-discipline, to me, it's like, okay, what am I doing with my time? Where's my time going? How can I better myself? Because it's all about improving, right? About getting better to the point where you perfect things that you do. I'll give you one more, right? When I go out and I'm doing sales and I'm sitting at someone's table, I record all my meetings. And it's not because like, oh, I wanted to have proof of what they said. No, nothing like that. I record my meetings because at the end of the month, I'll randomly pick like 10 or 15 of them and I'll listen to all of them. And you know me, I don't have the patience to sit there and listen to it at slow-mo. So I'll put 2 times on that sucker and just listen to it really fast. But I want to see what was my attitude. Did I follow the structure that I always set for myself when I'm doing an appointment, right? Because if I can pay attention to all the details and I know if I'm getting better or if I'm getting sloppy or if I'm omitting part of very important things in there, and in the end, you realize, oh man, I can switch this, I can change that. And then you start to see your closing rate go up higher, right? Yeah. I don't want to get I'm getting too far into the numbers. The point I'm trying to make is that it takes a lot of discipline in order for you to be able to improve and get better. Yeah. You want to get somewhere and you want to make more money. You want to do a whole lot of other things, but you do no planning. All you do is just dream about the things you want to change, but you plan nothing and you have no goals. And you have no goals because you have no self-discipline. You don't know where your time is going. You don't know what changes to make.
Yeah. To piggyback off of that, I like something that you just said right now is, and it reminded me of essentially what you want to do is have this self-discipline to be able to have a track of what you're doing or what you've done. So then, because it happens a lot too, where you feel like you're not progressing in life. Right? You're not man, how did that kid get into college and I didn't get into college?
Yeah.
How did he buy a car and I'm still driving the car my dad gave me? How does he have 3 houses and I'm still renting a 2-bedroom apartment?
Yep.
You know, you're comparing yourself to other people, but that's because you don't have the self-discipline to check yourself and be like, where am I? You're buying Starbucks every day.
Yep.
While my man's was making that instant coffee.
Yep.
Or buying or drinking the coffee from his office or what, you know, the free coffee.
Exactly.
You know, he had 3 jobs while you were studying and working, whatever the case may be, right? But you have some sort of track to go back and be able, it's always good to go back because then you can also see the growth, how far you've come to. A lot of times we feel like we've taken 1 step forward while everybody has taken 10 steps forward and you feel like you're getting left behind, but it's okay to have some sort of track to be able to be like, oh, I am moving up. I am headed in the right direction, but also to see like, where do I need to tighten up on?
Yeah.
Right.
And like part of this is like linked to self-control, which is a fruit of the spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you have to have that self-control, whether it's mentally, physically, whatever it is, you have to be able to have it in order to be able to have that discipline in your life.
Yeah.
You know, in Proverbs chapter 25 says, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks that self-control. So it's like, if you don't have that self-control to be able to set your boundaries and to be able to set boundaries for yourself, not for other people, but for yourself, you know, if you can't set it, then when you get caught lacking, I mean, it speaks a lot on the fact that you just don't have the self-control to make those changes.
Yeah. And it's key. You know, I think a lot of times when we lack self-control or self-discipline, we start to lose our way in everything, you know, I'm not going to touch on the spiritual side right now, but let's talk about the mundane, right? The everyday, your body, your physical body or your finances. You know, I talked about me reaching out to this friend to meal prep for me. So she gives me my meals for the week. So I know what I'm eating for lunch and I know what I'm eating for dinner. As to before, it'd be like, I'm hungry. Where should I go? And then it would take an hour to decide where I wanted to go. Just to go drop, you know, $15-$18 and then the coffee. So I'm, you know, spending easily $30 a day on one meal and coffee.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, yo, how come I can't save this much? Well, I need to tighten up. This is how I'm doing it. Also, I'm not losing weight. Well, this is how you tighten up.
Yeah.
Start doing it. And it's not easy. It's not easy, right? When, let's say you're packing your lunch and you're bringing it from home and your friends are going out to eat, or literally, bro, I think it was the second day I started meal prepping, the second day, and it's my boss's birthday.
They brought food in.
And they brought food in and they bring pizza and cake. And I even texted the group chat that I'm in with my other friend, and I'm like, yo, they want me to fail. They're praying on my downfall. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm looking, you know, and my friend is crushing like 3 slices of pizza in my face, and I'm over here eating grilled chicken and veggies. But I remember one guy walked in, he's like, yo, where'd you get that from? I was like, oh, you know, somebody made it. He's like, you picked the better meal. And then I was like, dang, all right, this chicken tastes better, you know, this chicken tastes better. But
he sized you up a little.
Yeah, but it takes discipline. Also, if, you know, you see some fit person or somebody swole, like, how'd you get that big? Well, they're in the gym 6 days a week, 7 days a week.
Putting in that work.
Right? They live at the gym. Or it's kind of like, you know, we say when we get up, we pray or we read our Bible, or at least we try to, right? That's theirs. You know, they get up, they're going to a gym. They're not fighting like, because for me, it was half the battle, you know, it's all mental, but half the battle was getting to the gym. Once you're in the gym, you're putting in work.
Yeah. Time flies by.
Time flies by. You're going to lift a weight. You're going to hop on the treadmill and run or walk. You're going to jump on the bike, whatever, but you're going to put in work once you're there. Yeah. But the battle was getting out of bed, getting there. And I live like 6 minutes from the gym. So I shouldn't have no excuses. But in the morning, I make excuses. Right. So, but it's having that discipline to say, no, I need this because I'm not going in the right direction. something's got to change for me to go and in the positive way, right? To lose weight, to be fit, to save money. And it's for growth at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like self-discipline it's not going to make you go backwards.
Facts.
It's to help you go in the right direction.
And I think sometimes it's just like, and this is why I go back to like the time part, right? Because part of losing weight and being healthy and all that, it's not just about eating, you know? It's about actually exercising.
Yeah.
But it's also about resting. Because if you exercise, you're going to get sore. Your body needs rest to recover.
Yeah.
And if you're not sleeping well and you're eating late at night, you're basically wasting your time. You know, it's a complete waste of time. I've seen guys that they go hard, you know, like I'm going to do this diet, and they do it for 30, 40 days. Their body goes into starvation mode, you know, and they lose 20 pounds. All of a sudden they stop doing it. And they're like, I'm going to go right back. And then they find all the weight that they lost, you know, they find it plus, and then some, and then some. Yeah. Because your body, and again, I'm no doctor or nothing, this ain't facts, you know, this is Fernando facts. But at the end of the day, it's like they spend so much time putting their body through so much stress. The body doesn't know when it's going to get its next meal. So now it's just holding fast to everything you put inside of it, you know? So now you're getting fat, and you just sacrificed for 30, 40 days just to lose everything.
Get it back.
You know, so like, what's the point of all that? You know? At the end of the day, sometimes it's just about lifestyle, and it's about changing a whole lifestyle. And that's what people sometimes forget. You can't say I'm going to do a diet. You can say I'm going to change my eating habits, and that's different. Yeah. You can say, like, I've been at the point where when I set my mind to it, I'll say, like, all right, I'm going to just start eating in moderation. If I go to Burger King, I'll get my burger, no fries, no soda. And I still do it. And I'll lose 8 to 10 pounds within like 2 weeks. Nothing changes. All I'm doing is just eating with moderation. Yeah. You know, it's like, so to each his own, everyone's going to go through the thing. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm happy with who I am, you know. My wife accepts me, or maybe she just tolerates me, but either way, she puts up with me, you know, and she loves me as far as I'm concerned, the way I am. But going to it, you know, it's like, at the end of the day, self-discipline has a lot to do with self-control, right? The second book of Timothy says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and of self-discipline. And at the end of the day, if he's given us this spirit, like, who are we to not use it, you know, to not put it to action, to not put it into work, you know? And it has to do in all phases of it. You never know, man. Maybe this podcast will get me to start putting in some change physically, you know, because I feel like mentally, when it comes to being an emotional person, I don't get attached to a whole lot, you know, unless it's my kids and my wife, my dog. I don't get attached to a whole lot of things. The physical stuff is going to come and it's going to go. And I feel like God's always been there for us to provide for us. So I don't get attached to nothing. You know, case in point, we bought a house in Monrovia. 8 months later, we sold that sucker and bought another one, you know, after we had already put thousands of bucks into it to remodel it to where we wanted it, you know, and weeks after we remodeled, we sold that thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I wasn't attached to it. And I put in a lot of work. It took me like a whole 8 months of working every weekend. I was putting in work, you know, 12, 14 hours to get it where we wanted it. And I was like, all right, time to go. You know, so it's like, you can do so much, but when it comes to making decisions, scripture says, let your yes be yeses and your no's be no's. Yeah. You know, whatever you're going to do. And I've heard so many people say, you know, like, I think it was E.T. who said it, Eric Thomas, he said, whatever you're going to do, just say it once and then shut up and get to work. I might have gotten it wrong, but I think it was Eric. So, like, that's something that I heard a long time ago and it stuck with me, you know? It's like, at a certain point, you just have to stop talking about what you want to do. Write it down. If you're going to share it to a person, share it. Put it out there. But after that, it's just on the grind. Yeah. Get to work. Whatever it is you're doing, whether it's physical, emotional, mentally, with just your goal setting, whatever it is, just get to work. That's how I see it.
No, and I think that's really key too, because a lot of times if you start oversharing, well, in my case, I found it, right, where you start oversharing, then people want to see results immediately. Yeah. Just like you want to see results, right? Excuse me. Yeah, I started eating good. I'm not drinking no sodas. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm hitting the gym 5 times a week. A week later, everybody's like, how much weight did you lose? Yep. And then when you fall off
Nah, I thought you
because you
were
weren't
saying.
self-disciplined, then like I knew you would.
But I mean,
So-
I'd be one of those sometimes, you know.
But I'm just like, you said if you want to share it, share it with somebody, but stop talking about it and be about it, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people too, because they don't have the self-discipline, they want to see you fail too.
Yeah, of course.
And so, and that just, it makes it that much harder when you want to do it again. Right. So that's something that I learned too. Like if I start working out, I don't really tell nobody, maybe one person because I'm going to the gym with them. Right. But I'm not posting. I'm not the guy who jumps on Instagram and takes mirror selfies in front of the gym, at the gym. Like I'm not that guy, because I'm like, I see those people and I have comments. I reserve my comments, but I have my comments.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's just me being real. But getting back to it, the self-discipline is, and it's okay to have a balance too. Yeah. Like your yes be yes, your no be no. I think I'll be honest. Like sometimes especially now, this is the third week that I've been meal prepping, but like last night after the soccer game, bro, I was starving. I was hungry, and it was like 11:30. I'm like, a little coffee's gonna be good. I had a croissant. I was like, all right, let me warm up the croissant. And so I had a croissant and a coffee, and like technically I'm cheating, right? Yeah. But I'm like, I just came from I just went and ran around for an hour. Yeah. And then it's okay. Like I'm not falling into shame. And I think it's important to point that out, to be like, if you did fail, right? Yeah. If you slipped up, don't start letting shame pile up on you.
Of course.
And just drown out, the good that you've been doing. Yeah. Right. Like one croissant is not gonna make me fat. It's not gonna give me high blood pressure or diabetes. But one croissant every night might So every now and then it's, I'm not saying slip up. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. But don't let shame pile up on you when you do, mess up and slip up.
Because it's like, we're talking about the physical part, right? But if we switch it to the spiritual side of it, when you start slipping up, Paul said in scripture, he said, the things that I want to do, I don't do them. But the things that I don't want to do, that's what I end up doing.
Yeah.
Like he was the first to admit, like, man, the flesh is the flesh. Our number one enemy sometimes is just ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not always the devil's fault. He ain't at fault for everything. Sometimes it's just the lack of discipline, the lack of focus, because if you're exhausted, you're tired, you played sports.
Yeah.
The number one reason why they used to put us through hell week during football season was because they wanted to see how you were going to react when you were exhausted.
Yeah.
Where are you going to make the mental mistakes? Were you going to jump off sides? Were you going to make all those dumb holdings? Like that's what they wanted to see, how you handle being exhausted. Yeah. So if you're not getting regular sleep, I mean, we're fast forwarding now 15, 20 years into real life, but if I'm exhausted and I know that I can't handle the pressure and I can't handle it, what am I doing staying up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what's the point of that? There's people that take pride in saying, oh, I'm a night owl. I work really late. That's good for you if it works for you, right? If that makes you productive, but if it doesn't, if you're going to make mistakes, then perhaps don't stay up working late. Perhaps leave the night owl for somebody else.
And it's funny that you said that, because on Sunday I went to go ball with some friends, two of my boys, and then they started watching a lot of basketball lately, and they love to talk. They're like, oh, so-and-so is trash because they're missing free throws, right? Yeah. Bro, there's no way. And they said this before we went to go ball. There's no way you should be missing free throws if you're in the NBA. There's no way. They're free points, bro. Like, there's no way. Like, how bad do you have to be to miss those, right? And then, so we get to the court, and it's three of us. So I was like, all right, let's start with free throws. Shoot 10 free throws. Let's see how many you make. And then, next person, like that. So they came up with the rule. Okay, if you make less than 5, you run 2 laps. Okay, cool. And I never made less, right? But I was still running because I was like, I need some conditioning. I need some. Yeah. So we were running. Okay, you run your laps, and then by the time they came back to shoot, they were missing bad, like air balls, not even hitting the rim, like side of the backboard. And they're like, now I can see why fools be missing so much, because he's like, I'm gassed, bro. And we hadn't even played yet, bro. We were simply just running 2 laps around the court. And I was like, it's so easy to talk when you're not doing that. But once you're in it, now you're like, oh snap, it is harder than. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because it's exactly that, bro. Like it's having the mental strength that once you're tired to know what's right and what's wrong still. Not being like, oh, I've been doing this long enough and it's okay. I'm a
I'll figure it out. I'll tough it out.
Yeah, no, it's having the mental strength to be like, no, this is not the right way. Like I should still be heading in this direction. I should still be doing the right thing. So it's funny when you were talking that.
And this is, again, and people get tired of me saying this, but this is why I write everything down, because there's times where I'll bust all-nighters. Like I literally work through the whole night, and I'm still working. All of a sudden I just hear the birds chirping. And I know it's the same feeling when boys be playing PlayStation, they're hitting that war zone all night, and all of a sudden you hear the birds chirping, you're like, oh, snap, it's daylight, like we gotta go, and that happened to me during the pandemic a couple times. But I've done it for work, where I'm like, oh snap, I gotta go take a shower and get ready for work. And I know that at this point I know myself so well that I know that I can do that twice in a week and still function properly. But if I try a third time or a fourth time, it's game over. Like I'll function for that week, but the following week, it'll ruin everything, to the point where that 1-2 nights that I spent trying to be productive just ruined a whole week of productivity. But if I know myself, because I've done it so many times, it gets to a point where I set boundaries on myself. And scripture says, like, what's the point of you saying that you trust in God if all you want to do is work all night and you're neglecting your family, you're doing it just to put in work? And it's like, are you really trusting God? So a lot of it kind of falls back and forth, like it's really just about having that self-control, having self-discipline, and being able to put everything together so that it functions for you.
Yeah. And right now that you said that, I wanted to ask you something. What are you just gave maybe one of the keys, but like, what are some of the steps that you can take to be self-disciplined?
I would say this. The one thing that what I started, I'll tell you how it started, okay? Because I wasn't always like this. The company that I'm with now, I work for them. We're talking about 15 years back, more. And hopefully he doesn't see this, right? But the owner one day came up to me, and I think he was just, I was doing so well. It was starting to get under his skin, because I was young and dumb, and I would brag about how good I was, right? So he's like, hey, listen, I need you to start writing down everything you're doing every hour. He wanted to justify my pay. I'm like, I don't get paid enough. I need more money, And he started saying, do it 1 hour. Well, you know me. I can be a little petty, right? So when he's told me 1 hour, I started doing it every 15 minutes. So it got to the point where I started writing everything down. And I did it for the whole season, almost 8 months. At the end of the season, I was like, my guy, look at everything I do for you. I really do deserve a raise. I work from sun up to sundown, putting in the work. And now that I think about it, I do 80% of it is not even my scope of work. So we sat down, had a long talk, and then I got myself a fat raise. You know what I'm saying? After that, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But what I started seeing is what I'm telling you. I started looking back. I was like, man, I got a fat check this week. What's going on? And I have to go back and look at it. So to answer your question I saw the proof in it first because I was being forced to do it. And after 3 months, he told me to stop. But I kept doing it anyways because I started seeing how much money I was making, how my commissions were just growing and growing, So I was like, yo, this is actually panning out. So to answer your question, where to start tracking everything. Start tracking what you're doing, when you're doing it, how often you're doing it. No one's going to check your phone to see what's on your calendar. If you sat on your couch to watch Netflix for 2 hours, write it down. Because if at the end of the week, you see that you're doing it 4 times a week, you're spending 8 to 10 hours watching Netflix, perhaps put it in your schedule where, hey, I work 8 hours, I'm going to have fun for 2 hours. Do whatever you want for those 2 hours and then get to work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, start small. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, make a list of meal prep and go to the gym and do this and do that. That's a lifestyle change. You have to know what you're doing first so that you know where you want to go. Once you set your goals, you start making changes. Number one, I always recommend everyone is first start tracking it. After 2-3 weeks of you tracking it, you know how they say it takes about 21 days for you to build a habit? You start tracking everything for 21 days. You'll get to a point where, like, after 2 weeks, you're like, oh, I forgot yesterday. Try to jot your memories down. And if you know that something's working for you, start putting it in your calendar. Like, start planning for it. You know what I'm saying? And if it didn't happen at the time that you allotted for it, move it down. Now dealing with technology is so easy. You literally just drag it. If you planned it for an hour and it took an hour and a half, make it wider. It takes seconds for you to keep track of everything. You know what I'm saying? You can talk to your phone. You don't have to write it nowadays, So you start with that, and little by little start adding up. Y'all can hit us up in the comments if y'all want step 2. But that's really the way to start. Just start tracking everything you do, when you do it, and how often you do it. Simple as that. Mater said it best. Mater said it best.
I agree. And kind of to add, just to close this out, but that's exactly what I had to do on with some of my social media apps on my phone. Because I started realizing, when I'm on my phone all day because of work, right? Texting, emails, calls, whatever. But I'm also watching YouTube videos. I'm also listening to music. I'm also watching Hulu and all these other apps. So I started realizing, like, I was on my phone 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
It was like, that's half the day. I'm sleeping 7-8 hours. So I was like, what? I have 3-4 hours that I'm literally not on the phone when I'm awake. And that was a little scary. So I had to start putting timers on my social media app. So I was like, all right, I'll give myself an hour and a half a day, every day. So if I'm on too much in the morning, then I'll get a notification like, okay, you have 5 minutes left. Yes, I can unlock it, but for the most part, I'm self-disciplined enough. Like, I don't have a password on it, but I'm self-disciplined enough to be like, okay, 15 more minutes or 1 more minute, whatever. Yeah. But I have a friend who actually, he took his friend's phone and he put a password on his friend's phone. So when it locks because he doesn't have the password. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to do that. But, I had to do that with my phone because I started realizing, like, man, 12 hours a day on my phone of screen time is crazy.
Well, I'll tell you this much. And sorry to cut you off. I'll give a lot of props to your boy who allowed his phone to be put a code on it. Because sometimes when you know that you can't do something for yourself, sometimes you need somebody else to hold you accountable and to help you out and to put those limits for you. You know what I'm saying? I've always said this, like, I've always had the mentality that I'm going to do everything within my power to get to the goals where I want to be. And I'm going to surround myself with people who have the same mindset to help me get there. If they fail, it's all good because I don't set my expectations too high. But at the end of the day, it's like I do everything in my power, and the things that I know that are out of my reach, I put it in God's hands. When I started living like that and keeping that mindset when it comes to my discipline in a sense, I started God's hand just moving. God's hand, just in my life. Yeah. I saw it in my boy, Tiago. I saw it in my finances. I seen it in everything, So it's just a matter of doing everything you can to have that self-control and to work it like if it's a muscle, because that's what it is. You don't start doing everything right off the bat. You start little by little. You never know. Maybe in a year y'all see me. I might be ripped. You never know.
And at the end of the day, God is a God of order.
Yep.
Right? He's not a God of disorder. So that's going to be pleasing to him as well. If you are organized, if you have your stuff in order, because he knows that he can trust you.
Pastor always says, el orden trae la bendición. So blessings come when you have everything in order.
In order, exactly. Amen. All right, guys, with that being said, we appreciate you guys tuning in again. We hope to see you guys next week. And please, please, please don't forget to share it with a friend.
Yep. Hit that like button, the subscription, hit that bell notification so you know when we're dropping new content for you guys. And thank you for joining us.